My name's Chuckie. I struggle with addiction, greed, and alcoholism. I can remember when I was like 5, 6 years old. I can remember my first crime, and that was me riding my green machine up to a shoe store, me and a friend, run in there, grab some shoes, put them on my feet, and I took off on my green machine and got caught by the cashier, grabbed me by my collar and off to behind the cop car, arrested and delivered to my mom. And from there, I was in a children's home until I was probably about 7 or 8. I remember my real mother coming to visit me at the children's home, and I wanted to go live with her. I didn't want to be at the children's home. And I ran through a field and I jumped in the car, and next thing I know I was at her apartment. The cops came. I was hidden in a laundry basket, a dirty laundry basket, and I got caught. You know, they took my mom to jail. I was in the children's home again. And I ended up at the children's home because my mother overdosed on some pills. And from there, I got foster homes here and there. You know, I've been to foster homes where they didn't feed you, they beat you, my eyes, there was no reason, but I'm sure there was reasons. And they were alcoholics, you know, and I was one of those picky kids, and I wasn't gonna be in no house that had a lot of kids. And I got adopted by a family when I was 7, 8-ish years old, and went there as a foster kid, liked it, they adopted me. And that's where I was raised, at my adopted parents, north end of Toledo. And I had a pretty decent elementary schoolish type years, but when I came to junior high, that's when I started hanging out with the bad people, started drinking, and committing crimes, breaking in people's houses, taking stuff that didn't belong to me. Ended up at Cowgill Hills Boys School in Cowgill Hills, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. Ended up doing a year there, and I didn't like it there, so I figured how to escape. Ended up in a neighborhood, we were just not, we stuck out too much in this neighborhood. We were cold, it was winter, we didn't have nothing to wear, so we knocked on a police cop car. Hey, can you take us back to Cowgill Hills Boys School? We just escaped. So they took us back. They're like, well, you ran away, why did you come back? We're like, that ain't for us out there. We need to come back here. So we went to the hole. It was called the box, and that was the worst experience I've ever experienced. You know, I've been to prison, but Cowgill Hills, the box was like a box. It was a square room, one little tiny light, no toilet. You had a hole you had to pee and poop in, you know, and it was the box. It was terrible. And in prison, I've been to prison in my later years, and that was, compared to that, that was like hotel. Got out of Cowgill Hills Boys School, and I was doing pretty good, in and out of jail still, because I'm drinking and doing Chuckie. Never experienced no drugs, no, just drinking and no drugs. And then 18, 19, I got caught with a stolen car. I ended up going to Ohio prisons. Before I went to prison, I got out on bail, and I committed all these other crimes all the way around Ohio. So while I'm in prison, they're taking me out of the prison system to go to every other county that's in Ohio, and all these charges are just getting stacked. I ended up with so much time on my belt that it was crazy. Ended up with a year. Now I got 3.5 years because I got all these other crimes that I done went around thinking they didn't know about, and they did. Somehow I was in there, and I went to church, and I said, I'm going to be saved. I'm going to go to church, I'm going to be saved. God's gonna get me out of this. I'm gonna get out early. This is what God's gonna do. I'm gonna do it. And went to church, asked to be saved, laying in my bed, I write the judge, early release, denied. Write the judge again, denied. Prayed before I wrote the letter again, denied. I'm like, well, I ain't going to church no more. I said, church is over with and I ain't going no more. What do you mean I'm saved and Jesus Christ ain't let me out early? All these other folks are doing it. 2-3 months went by. I didn't go to church no more. The pro board called me. They gave me shock parole. So I get out, I'm on probation. I was about 20 years old, still drinking. Never, no drugs. I didn't do no drugs yet, just drinking. Went into my parole officer drunk, or hangover. Smelled like alcohol. She said, you been drinking? I said, I don't drink. That's against parole rules. She said, you sure smell like it. I'm like, alcohol is out of your system in 24 hours. I know I'm going to be clean. Dirty, off to jail I went. So, sitting in jail, they violate me, I go back to prison. I got to do another 1.5 years. So I do another 1.5 years. In 92, I decided to go across the line into Michigan, and I did a crime. Did a crime with me, my best friend, and one of my brothers. And somebody told me about a safe that was in a house, had a bunch of money in it, and I said, whoa, that's me right there. That's easy money right there. I ain't got to work. That $10,000 is mine. Me and my friend went in the house. My brother was supposed to be the getaway driver. Car pulls in. My brother honks the horn. Me and my buddy, we ran through so many cornfields to get out of there. Some guy gave us a ride in the back of his pickup truck all the way back to Toledo. We're like, woo, we're good. Not knowing that my brother had a highway speed chase with the highway state trooper and an off-duty highway state trooper. So he had a head-on collision and he broke both of his kneecaps. Knowing my friend that was with me, his son was in the car with him. So he was injured and it was almost life-threatening type injuries. My brother ended up giving up our names and I went to jail and ended up pleading out, got 2.5 to 15 years. Didn't even know I could get that much time over my head because Michigan laws are different from Ohio. Jackson prison, quarantine is a whole lot different from Ohio. And next thing I know, we're on the 3rd tier up in Jackson prison and we get a note passed down to us. Hey, if you don't have us 3 bags of coffee when we break for showers, we're going to have an issue. Somebody's getting thrown over to tier, So now I'm on guard. The CO came to my cell and said, hey, Williamson, 227502. I can always remember that number. You're right out, emergency ride out in the morning. So I say, where am I going? They said, MTU. And I'm like, MTU, where's that? So the old man next to me, he said, boy, youngster, get your boxing gloves on. That's the gladiator school. That ain't nothing but gangbangers and mobsters. And I'm like, oh man, why me? It was a rough time. It was a very rough time there. You had to, if you didn't fight, they just took advantage of you. I learned that in prison. I talked the CO into bringing me some weed in. And I was paying $450, $500 an ounce. But I was making $1,200 on an ounce. But I thought I was good to go. There was nobody gonna know about this. The CO would sneak it into me and he would always shake me down. That way my name was on the shakedown list, so no other CO would shake me down. And I got caught with 25 nickel bags in prison and I ended up doing an extra year on top of that. While I was all in that from 92 to 95, I never bothered trying to find Jesus Christ. I ain't gonna be no hypocrite. I ain't going to no church. That's a hypocrite. Those are hypocrites that do that. In the meantime, me being in there, I lost my real mom, my brother, and my adopted dad. They'd all died within those 3 years. I couldn't go to the funerals or nothing. Not being able to go to those funerals just tore me up. I was so angry that I was on lockdown because of a fight, but they let me come out to walk around and make a phone call, to ease my mind. And it was shift change, and the CO said, "What are you doing, Williamson? You're on lockdown, get in your room." I said, "Man, they let me out, I'm walking around, my brother just died." And he said, "We don't care about if your brother died or not, that ain't our problem, that's your problem." And I snapped, I jumped over the counter and I grabbed the CO, and I got lumped up a little bit, and off to the hole I went again. And it just messed with my brain really bad. And then I got out of prison. No, let me back it up. I was coming out of the store line, and a guy ripped my bag open, and all my groceries went all over the ground. And it was right by the baseball diamond. I picked up a bat and I beat the crap out of him. He got like 20 staples in his head. So I went to the hole, and the hole was like my second home. I mean, I wasn't even trying to fight nobody. It was just something you had to do at that prison to survive. If you didn't, they just took full advantage of you. So I'm in the hole. They come across the speaker in my cell. "Williamson, get ready, you gotta go see the warden." Ain't nobody see the warden. You don't see no inmate goes up and sees the warden. So I'm going up to see the warden, and the warden says, "We're gonna let you call your mom. We gotta put you on protected custody." And I said, "Protected custody?" I said, "Why am I going on protected custody?" And they said, "Well, you hit a Muslim, and the Muslim was wearing his badge outside his clothes, but you assaulted him while he was wearing his badge. So now all the Muslims are after you." I said, "I don't want them to leave." I said, "I'm good where I'm at." Because I had the CO bring him in and weed. I didn't want to leave. So they sent me over to Mackinac Bridge, to Kinross prison. When I got up to Kinross, I didn't even know I was in prison. I'm like, this is prison. You got an ice skating ring, a roller skating ring, 5 baseball diamonds, bicycles you can rent, a movie theater. I'm like, this ain't prison. Okay, when I got out of prison, that time I stayed out of prison. That was in 2000. In 2000, I was introduced to cocaine. They laid me a line out, I did the line, cocaine. And it wasn't, I was addicted or nothing right then, because I just did it, liked the feeling, and it was over with. But then he said, "Here, take this, sell this." And I took it, sold it, and now I'm addicted to the money. I'm not addicted to the drug right now. I'm just addicted to the money. So at this point, I'm drinking and I'm selling cocaine. I'm not addicted to cocaine yet. So when I get so far into my life selling the drugs and everything, I lose a brother. I wasn't with him, he was by himself. He did some cocaine, took some Percocets, which I went to sleep, didn't stop breathing in his sleep, so he didn't wake up, he passed away. And it hit me pretty hard, and I quit drinking. I said, "Oh, I want to quit drinking. If I quit drinking, the other issue, the cocaine issue, is going to go away." And I quit drinking, didn't touch a lick of alcohol at all, whatsoever. Still selling my drugs because I'm like the greed, I like the money. And when I caught myself dipping in the bag more than I should have been, I just started knowing I had an issue, knowing I had I wasn't calling it an addiction, because my brain wasn't going to let me call myself an addict. And now, meantime, my wife don't know none of this. I was an undercover drug dealer with my wife's eyes. Somebody called for an ounce. I ended up going to my spot, and I didn't just grab one, I grabbed 2, because my brain tells me, well, before you get home, somebody's going to call you and want another one. Don't miss out on that money. So I went and delivered it, and then on the way back, I started tasting it, took my finger in that bag and tasting it, and then it was just from that point on, that night, I don't know why or how it happened, me and 3 of my buddies, we ended up doing a whole ounce of cocaine within a 24-hour period. Don't even know how I drove myself to the hospital. I don't even know where these people went. One of them said I dropped him off with my dog. Don't even remember none of that. Don't remember what I said to the nurse. All I remember is that whatever you do, don't tell my wife I'm here. You know, because I knew it would break my wife's heart. Well, they were about to release me, and they asked, and I said, well, can I go to the 3rd floor? I said, I have an issue going on. I said, I need some kind of treatment. 3rd floor is a psychiatric evaluation where you're suicidal or something like that. It wouldn't take me at first, you know, and I'm like, what do you mean? Well, that's suicidal. You gotta tell us you're suicidal. I said, I'm not suicidal right now. I said, but I just did an ounce of cocaine within 24 hours, so my brain's not totally right. I said, who does an ounce of cocaine within 24 hours? So somewhere during that night and maybe tomorrow, I may harm myself. I don't know. Oh, well, then that's all we need to hear. You're going up to the 3rd floor. At first, nobody would talk to me. No, my wife wouldn't talk to me. No, I mean, a couple of my kids answered the phone. My dad didn't even answer the phone. I felt hopeless. When nobody would answer no phone calls from me, I mean, especially my wife. She did answer. She's like, I'm done with you, I'm not, and just hung up the phone. Called a couple of my kids, they were a little disappointed with me. They didn't want to talk. So I sat there for a day and a half, 2 days maybe, not knowing what I'm going to do with my life. My wife called my sponsor, Steve, and they came up, visited me, and they were trying to figure a treatment plan to go throughout when I got released. You know, they came to visit me, told me about Life Challenge, and they told me a little bit, not too much about it. They didn't go all into what it was about or any of that. They just told me a little bit, it's gonna help you, Chuckie, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, let's roll. I said, I told you I gotta go, I'm all in, whatever you guys choose for me to do, that's what I gotta do to get back to Chuckie. So I'm going up there, my wife comes and picks me up. Now mind, she done packed me up, she done everything I needed, she's got. She's not making no pit stops nowhere because she ain't gonna let me change my mind. She ain't letting none of that happen. So we're going up 75, and I said, where is this place at? She says, in Detroit. I said, okay. And she goes, why? She goes, you know, we're only asking for 90 days, but it's a year-long program. I said, what'd you just say? Year-round program? I said, get off on this exit and turn around and go back. I said, you might as well get back to Toledo. She pulled over, she said, look, we're only asking for 90 days. It's a year-long program, but we're only asking for 90 days. I said, just go back. I said, I'm not even doing this. And so she goes, please. She's starting to cry. And so I said, all right, let's go. And we get up there, you know, and I still don't know what this place is about. I mean, when I walk in, everybody, I don't even see nobody. I'm like, man, I'm the only resident gonna be in here. I don't see nobody. I go to the bathroom and my wife, I didn't know my wife did it, but my wife slipped in my return money home. And I didn't know I had return money home. I mean, I'm so glad I didn't know I had return money home. You know, they should do that to every resident. Don't let them know they have return money home. And so my wife leaves. I'm in there unpacking. Next thing you know, they're like, all right, pray out. I'm like, pray out? What's pray out? He goes, oh, it's 9 o'clock. We gotta go pray out for a half hour. It's we give everybody it's gratitude, lift ups and special request prayers and testimonies. So it's ain't making no sense to me. Where am I at? Because you're at a faith-based program. Because you're about to. I said, is this Bible boot camp? He just started laughing at me. I said, man, my wife done sent me to Bible boot camp. It was bad. I couldn't sleep for 3 days. I go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I miss a step. I fall on my bunkie in bed. He don't wake up, so he snores so loud. He farted and snored so loud that it was bad. It was terrible. And my first breakfast was oatmeal and water. And I'm like, ooh. I said, it's a Bible boot camp and they fast you. Oatmeal and water. I said, this is not good. they're like, Chuckie, come on, it's chapel time. I said, it's 7:45. What do you mean chapel? I said, I'm going back to bed. And they were like, no, you ain't going back to bed. You got chapel. I said, I don't know about this. So I rolled it out. I made an excuse. I wasn't feeling good, so they let me lay in my bed. I said, all right, I think I got this worked out. And this time I don't feel good. I ain't got to go to chapel. I ain't got to go to classes. I can just stay in my bed the whole time I'm here. So next day, I wake up 5:30 in the morning, going out there doing stretches and everything, and I'm thinking, man, now the Bible boot camp, fasting, they better have something good for breakfast this morning. So I get back down there, oatmeal and water again. I'm like, oh. I said, I don't know about this. I said, I'm out of here. I can't do this. So I go back and I tell my brother Mike, I said, Brother Mike, I gotta leave. I said, this oatmeal and water stuff ain't getting it. I'm rolling out. Well, who you want to call? I said, I'm calling my wife. Called my wife. No, wife. She hollered, screamed, I mean, at the top of her lungs. And I ain't gonna lie, I hung that phone up. And I was proud of myself when I hung that phone up because I knew she couldn't call me back. Because any other time when I hung that phone up, she would call me straight back. But this time I knew she couldn't call me back. So I sat there and I said, I make another phone call. He said, who you calling? And I said, I want to call, first I tried to call my other kids. But my wife done hung up and called all my kids and said, do not answer no 313 number. So nobody answered no phone call. So I called Steve. I said, I'm gonna call my sponsor. And Brother Mike, he giggled at me. He said, you're gonna call your sponsor? I said, yeah, he gonna come and get me. I said, he got me here, he gonna come and get me. I said, well, Steve, what's up, Chuck? I said, you gotta come get me. I said, I can't do this, man. I said, they feeding me bread and water. I said, I ain't slept in 3 days, my bunky farts and snores all night. I said, there ain't no way I can do this. Steve says, Chuckie, did you talk this over with my wife? I said, no, I ain't gotta do that. I'm talking it over with you right now. I said, I'm gonna do my 90 days at your house. I said, I don't need no phone, no TV, no nothing. We're gonna do this right there at your house. He said, Chuckie, if you can't do 2 days there, you can't do 90 days at my house. He goes, just stick it out, stick it out. So I hung up the phone, went back to the room. Now, mind, I still ain't went to chapel and did none of this stuff yet. And went back, my roommate Ricky, I was sitting on my bed staring at my bag. He goes, what you gonna do, Chuckie? I said, I guess I'm unpacking because there ain't nobody coming to get me. I said, I'm all the way in Detroit. I ain't got no way home, so I'm unpacking my stuff. He goes, well, I'm gonna tell you one thing. I ain't never seen a grown man your age pack up and unpack. I said, once they're packed up here, they don't really leave. He goes, so that's God keeping you here. So like my 4th, 5th day there, I'm in chapel. I'm in the back row. A chain breaker came on, and I just started crying. I mean, I was in tears. And I don't know what's going on. I'm like, making sure nobody's looking at me. I'm wiping my tears off. I'm like, I don't know what's going on right now, but I got goosebumps, and I'm like, ooh, something's going on. And then Pastor Jeff, during that session of chapel, he asked if anybody wanted to ask Jesus Christ to come in their lives. And he had us go up. And normally he just have you raise your hand. And, the day before, he asked, and I'm thinking, oh, they're just going to raise their hand. I can do that. Everybody's head's going to be bowed. They're just going to raise their hand, and I'm good. I can do that. And he's, all right, we need everybody up. And the only person it was me. So now they got me on the stage. Everybody's up there praying for me. And I'm asking Jesus Christ to come in my life. And from that point on, it was just like an eye-opener. Just like anything that I had hiding inside me, I just let go. I told everybody all my darkest secrets. I did my inventory, but I had to figure out somebody to tell them to. And when he came up to visit me, I sat him down and I was confessing to him some things, and I said, Steve, nobody knows this too much, but I was a big time drug dealer. I said, I didn't sell just little stuff. I sold some big stuff. And he goes, Chuckie, you know what? We already knew that. We just wanted you to confess to us. I said, how do you know that? He said, just the lifestyle you lived. My whole family already knew that. And I was like, well, you know what? I feel 100% better that that came up out of my soul and out of my mouth and into your ears, because now I feel like there's nothing out here that anybody can say, oh, I know this about Chuckie, or I know this about Chuckie, because there's nothing, I'm an open book now. It's just a blessing that God, Jesus Christ, has made me the man who I am today, because I know the old Chuckie. The old Chuckie was not too good of a guy. He didn't like oatmeal and water for sure. But I love oatmeal and water now. I love oatmeal and water now because I work at Life Challenge now. I'm going to be here at Life Challenge, volunteering and doing what I need to do. And they let me come up here and there, and then they gave me a volunteer badge. And then from a volunteer badge, I got a staff badge. The day I'm leaving, they're like, Chuckie, when you coming back? You can't be gone too long. I wish they knew how much it helps me with my recovery more than it helps them with their recovery. Only thing that I pray for God to do is always reach into all my kids' hearts, and every individual that I help to get to Life Challenge, or maybe I just sit down and talk to them, that God speaks out of my soul into their soul. My life is like a 360. I mean, it's by the grace of God I'm here today. Because if I believe that when I was on that table and they were pumping all that stuff in me, God grabbed me off that table and said, no, you ain't going today, buddy. You got some family and kids that need to have you in their life. And Bella, my daughter Bella, my wife, she never read the Bible. My daughter never read the Bible. You can ask my daughter today to rehearse some verses, and she memorizes verses like crazy. My wife, never in my life I would think I would have a Bible app downloaded on my phone, doing devotionals, doing Bible studies with my wife and my daughters, or my buddy Steve Hawk. Never in my life I would wake up at 5 in the morning to my wife doing her devotionals, doing all her prayers for everybody, doing her Bible study, her grief counseling. I mean, it's just wild that what Jesus Christ has done in our lives. Jesus, do your job.